Hello and welcome to pmclounge.com. In this video, I'm taking up a question that I recently received, and it was about extreme programming. We've been doing a lot of videos on extreme programming as of late. I'll share a link in the description. The first link is going to take you to an entire playlist of all the videos that we have done so far on extreme programming. Extreme programming is one of the ways, one of the methods that teams can use to be more agile, to become more agile, right? So back to the question. The question was, why is extreme programming not as popular as Scrum? So Scrum is the most popular method, the most popular way you can take your project team and move them towards agile, right? Make them agile, adopt the Scrum ways of delivery, and you can proudly say that you work in an agile environment. But why is extreme programming not as popular? So let me share some differences between Scrum and extreme programming. So Scrum is focused on product development, but it is also focused on project management, right? So you're working in a product environment, you're delivering products, you're not delivering services, you're delivering, let's say, newer versions of a software product. That's what Scrum focuses on. But it also focuses on project management, which is its, I would say, a strong point of Scrum. The practices, the values, the ideas of Scrum, they are specifically aimed at problems of project management, like, let's say, determining what product we will be built, planning, executing the work, all of that, right? So what's happening here is the focus of Scrum has a lot to do with project management. But if you have gone over any of our videos on extreme programming and you understand the basics of extreme programming, you will agree to the fact that XP has limited approach to project management. It is obviously not as rigid as Scrum, but like there are no daily meetings, there are no meetings that are time boxed and stuff, right? So extreme programming, if you get to know more about it, if you learn about the practices of extreme programming, you will realize that the focus of extreme programming is more on engineering. It is more on programming. The name itself says programming, right? So, however, XP is also iterative, it is incremental. So, there are practices like quarterly cycle, weekly cycle, Slack, and even stories. These are going to provide an effective way to plan and manage those iterations. So, obviously, extreme programming also has elements of agile, it also has elements of iterative delivery, but the reason extreme programming is not as popular as Scrum lies down to the fact that extreme programming doesn't have much to say when it comes to project management, while Scrum definitely does. But what we have been observing as well is that a lot of teams also opt for hybrid way of delivery, a hybrid of Scrum and extreme programming. And obviously, this is something that you would do if you are delivering a software, if you are working in a software environment. So, how is this going to work, right? And why exactly does hybrid work? So, Scrum practices, they are primarily built to help the team get organized, to manage the stakeholder expectations, and to ensure that communication happens across the board, right? This is the crux of the practices of Scrum. Now, the structure of Scrum coupled with code or programming, which focuses on the practices of XP, can work well for some teams. So they opt for hybrid approach. So they replace, extreme programming's quarterly, weekly, and Slack, these kind of concepts, they replace it with the complete implementation of Scrum. Now, this is going to include all the Scrum events, the artifacts, the roles of Scrum, everything, right? So, some practices of Scrum are completely adopted, while some programming practices of XP are also completely adopted. And that's how you get a hybrid way of delivering software projects. Now, I would like to talk about the Scrum 101 training program that is available on Udemy. The link to it will be in the description, the second link in the description. And this is our first premium training program that we are offering online. So definitely go to Udemy, check this out, Scrum 101. This is one course that is going to take you from a beginner to a pro level. So I'm really excited. We've been getting really good feedback about this course. It's newly launched. Definitely check out the second link in the description. Now, the one thing that you might be wondering, back to the video, by the way. So the one thing that you might be wondering is, we just talked about the hybrid of Scrum and extreme programming. Is this not going to break some rules? So here's the answer. Rules of both Scrum and XP, to be precise, but that is actually all right. It is going to break the rules of Scrum and XP, but it's still okay. All that hybrid does is replace the planning practices of Scrum with XP. There are no modifications to the other Scrum practices. For example, you do not change the daily Scrum to a weekly Scrum, because that's a Scrum practice which you are not touching when it comes to hybrid. Now, similarly, none of the XP practices like pair programming, continuous integration, these are not modified either. So obviously what's happening is, you're taking some really good practices from Scrum, you're taking some really good practices from extreme programming, but you're not modifying these practices. You're just combining the two so that you get the best of the both worlds. So that is why hybrid can break some rules, but it is still okay. So before I let you go, here's my question for you. What is a Scrum practice that you find useful to adopt in other scenarios? There are other scenarios. What are some of the Scrum practices that you would like to adopt? As an example, XP is just one scenario. The hybrid is just one scenario, right? Where you're using XP as well as Scrum. But in your day-to-day life, on your projects, on your work, right? Are there any Scrum practices that you find useful that you should adopt? Let me know in the comments. Definitely looking forward to your answers. And that's all that we had in this video. Definitely consider subscribing. We are all about project management. We are all about PMP and other project management related certifications. Keep learning, and you can watch these other videos to do so. If you like our work, consider contributing by heading over to pnclounge.com/contribute. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.